My name is Catherine Skolarski. I live in Lake Hill, New York, which is a hamlet of Woodstock, New York. I had initially heard about the smart meter issue in the fall of 2012. We had read some articles in the newspaper and seen some things online. We weren't terribly concerned. It didn't seem to have anything to do with us. Nevertheless, we called our utility company and asked whether there was any intention to have smart meters put on our home. We were assured by our utility company that smart meters were something that were completely off their radar screen. They told us that they couldn't afford to replace everybody's analog meters with smart meters and that we should just not think about it anymore, which is essentially what we did. I spent the winter in California helping to take care of my mom and returned to my home in Lake Hill in early March of 2013. It was an intense period in California with my mom. My father had passed away, but I was in very good health and I was in very good spirits. And I came home to my partner who'd taken wonderful care of our home. And the morning that I woke up, the first morning that I woke up returning to our home, I woke up so incredibly ill. I had had a sleepless night. I had apparently contacted poison oak in California. I'm a wilderness educator, so I'm exposed to poison oak and poison ivy quite a bit. But something was happening to my body that I couldn't explain. Swelling, incredible headache. From that day forward, I had incredible disruption with my sleep. It was a phenomenon that I had never experienced before. I woke almost every night at exactly the same time, sometime between 2 and 3 in the morning. And it took many, many hours, 3 or 4 hours to be able to get back to sleep. I feel very grateful because I'm a meditator and I would use all my meditation techniques, all my visualization techniques, all of my relaxation techniques to try to return to sleep, usually fruitlessly. Eventually, I was able to get back to sleep right around dawn and woke up the next morning feeling incredibly fatigued. I'm a pretty upbeat person. I'm a pretty can-do person. And during that period of time after returning to my home, I had the most incredible experience of despair and depression. I'd never had depression like that before. And I had something that was incredible. I would have these flash moments of the most anguishing kind of despair, like a dark hole would open up in my solar plexus. I attributed all of this to kind of a post-traumatic visit to California. I had no way to explain what was going on for me. The poison oak that I had contacted in California, it seemed to be raging through my body. I was swollen, I was fatigued, I was exhausted. I was reporting this to my partner, the sleeplessness, and I just tried to ride it out. I took a lot of herbs, I took a lot of baths, I tried to stay positive. Finally, in about the beginning of May or so, spring broke and I went out to do some gardening, and I was trimming back grapevines that had grown along the back of my house. And it was then that I realized that a smart meter had been put on our home. I was so shocked by the sight of it. I just could hardly believe it. Fortunately for me, our friend Steve and Raji had just gone through their smart meter experience, and there had been an article in the newspaper. And so the health crisis that Raji had been through and the struggles that Steve had been through were known to me. I hesitated to even tell my partner about the smart meter because I knew he was just going to go ballistic. And I was in the throes of what I could only describe as terror. I felt completely overwhelmed with my life as it was at that time. I was working as hard as I could. I felt like I didn't have any time to deal with this level of crisis. I experienced this despair and the depression redoubling. I hardly knew how to cope. That evening I did tell Eric, and Eric immediately went out, read the numbers off the smart meter to me. We looked it up on the internet and saw that it was in the smart meter family. And the very next day, Eric called Steve and Raji, who arrived at our house, I think within 48 hours. They brought a high-frequency reader, and they brought a Stetzer meter, and they started to demonstrate to us with these meters the kind of electromagnetic radiation that was coming off this smart meter on the back of our home. They also immediately recommended some remediations, some very basic remediations, and within an hour after they left, I started to work on those remediations, which were very basic. They had to do with covering the smart meter. Lucky for me, I had a stainless steel pot in my kitchen that fit over the meter precisely. I happened to have some aluminum tape in the basement, which I sealed it up with. And Stephen Raji suggested that because of the combination of the smart meter electromagnetic radiation and the dirty electricity in our home, both of which tested very, very high, they suggested I turn off the electric, just go down and turn off the breakers at night. We did all of that on a Sunday night, and that Sunday night I slept through the night. I've been involved now in trying to decode the avalanche of information that's coming out about smart meters and their dangerous effect on human health, and working hard to remediate the situation in our home. And my personal experience is that there is no question that the electromagnetic radiation in our home absolutely devastated me.
Have you had the smart meter removed?
We have not had the smart meter removed. We saw from Stephen Raji's experience that, and from our own experience, that our utility company was not willing to be forthcoming with us. We're concerned.
So have the symptoms got any better?
My symptoms, because I've remediated the smart meter, I've covered the smart meter, I've created essentially a Faraday box around the smart meter. So my symptoms are greatly improved. I also turn off our electric power every single night.
And what did the doctor say when you went to visit the doctor?
I did not visit a doctor.
Okay. Did you have any of these symptoms before the smart meter was attached to your home?
No, I had no symptoms, and as I said, I returned from California in really good health, happy, ebullient, glad to be home.
And why haven't you gone to a doctor?
I haven't visited a doctor, first of all, because the sleeplessness, the fatigue, I was ascribing to, menopause, to anxiety, to, it was not something that I would seek medical attention for.
And tell me about your lifestyle before this happened. Were you very healthy?
I've always been very healthy. I think that that's part of what was so extraordinary about the controlled situation under which this occurred. I'm an upbeat, healthy, happy person, a can-do person, and to return from California and to immediately be struck down in such a devastating way by this cacophony of health issues was really shocking. Also, part of what was hard to cope with was the level of despair and depression that I experienced. The anxiety, the sleeplessness was devastating.